Okay, so hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a quick video, just going to be talking about a recent video portrait I shot. I'll go into detail in where the inspiration for this came from. It's something I'm definitely looking at doing more going forward. Not only was the shoot really fun, but it's a great test for the camera. It's a great kind of hybrid between photography and videography. And it's just something I'm really looking forward to doing more of in the future. So let's jump straight into what it is and how I shot it. Okay, so on a basic level, what is a video portrait? There is a YouTuber called MABO, M-A-B-O, all in capitals, I'm not really sure how you say it, who's been doing these for about a year now, maybe slightly more, and I absolutely love his videos. I recently came across his channel and I was going through every video he's got on his channel for about the last year. There's just an amazing style to his videos, really nice sort of textured videos. Again, they come across like portraits, and this is kind of the whole point of what he's doing. He's describing these kind of short videos with models and different people. He's describing these sort of short videos as video portraits, which is definitely something I don't think I'd really heard before. And yes, if you're being technical, it doesn't really make too much sense as a portrait isn't a video, and it's also not a video taken in portrait. So yes, it's a little bit confusing, but let me just quickly explain what it is. So what the guy is doing is going out with a model or someone that he would do a kind of standard photo shoot with, and he's doing essentially exactly what he would do in a photo shoot, but in video format. Now, if you know anything about photography, clearly there are differences. He's not literally taking video of what he would be doing if he was taking a photo. There has to be movement, the model has to be doing stuff, they're interacting with things, they're kind of going places, moving from point to point. So yes, clearly it's not exactly the same as a photo shoot, but stylistically it's a similar thing. The videos are normally between 1 minute and 3 minutes long. He's kind of doing different locations, different outfits sometimes, and going on a little bit of a journey, sort of sometimes telling a little bit of a story with these videos. The other thing he's doing, which again makes it more like a set of portraits, is kind of changing up the aspect ratio. He sometimes goes from a sort of 16:9 widescreen into a kind of 4:3 more cropped format and back and forth, and he's using things like film grains and transitions and stuff like that to kind of give it that filmic old school photography style. So anyway, I was just really inspired by these videos, and as soon as I saw them I knew I wanted to shoot something similar. So when I got my new camera, the SONY FX3, which we're shooting on now, I thought this was a great opportunity to go out and shoot something in this kind of style. So as I said at the beginning, I make no qualms about it. This is definitely heavily inspired by his work. I will even leave his YouTube channel in the description below so you can check it out, because he is a really talented filmmaker doing some amazing stuff, especially with a camera that's very similar to mine. So to my video portrait, me and my girlfriend Kira, who thankfully is stunning and agreed to model for me, we're out and about on our travels, and we found or sort of came across a rapeseed field. You know those ones with all the yellow kind of flowers on top, and it just looked amazing. And as soon as we drove past it, we thought, right, okay, if we're gonna do this, that's where we want to do it. You'll have seen photos and things like that around rapeseed. It just looks amazing on camera. You get that kind of almost like from, you know what, the scene I'm thinking of is in Shrek. It's a piss take, but it's when they're running through the field in slow motion. That's the kind of vibe you get from these rapeseed fields. Even though now I think about it, I don't know that they're actually yellow in that film. Anyway, the point being, I knew this was exactly where I wanted to do it if I was going to do one of these video portraits. So we had an afternoon off together. Kira got dressed into some lovely summery dresses, and we went and found the field. Obviously, as this is someone's crops which they're going to make money off, we made sure to be very respectful and not kind of, break anything. We made a point of not actually going into the rapeseed, kind of just stick on the outside. Did I want a shot of her coming through the field with her hands, going through it and all it moving in slow motion? Yes. Was I willing to be that kind of person that's going to go in and ruin someone's property? Absolutely not. So we managed to find a way in that wasn't disrupting anything, and we kind of stuck to the outside and started taking, some portraits, some pictures, and obviously the videos, which you're going to see dotting up throughout the video from now on. Now for me, this is one of the first things I had shot on my new Sony FX3, so actually it was a really good test as well of the different settings, the different menus that are different to my old camera, and just kind of the overall image quality that I'm going to get out of this thing. So I will start by saying I was accidentally in S-Cinetone for the majority of the shoot. I was looking to use S-Log, I had the monitor on. I was going to use a LUT to monitor that properly and make sure that I was getting the most dynamic range out of the camera. But one of the little quirks of the FX3, which I didn't realize, was that when I was going between the memory banks I'd set up, I'd followed the Who Is Matt video, showing me how to do that. When I'd set that up, I'd been in S-Cinetone color profile, so when I went back to that memory bank again, which I'd set for all three of them, it was defaulting back to that S-Cinetone as well. Again, this is not a fault with the camera, it's actually what you would want if you'd set that as your default, and a lot of people will, as S-Cinetone is much easier to grade, and it really is kind of a straight out the box, color profile you can use. But the advertised dynamic range levels are really in S-Log 3, that's what everyone on the internet seems to be saying anyway. So I did want to be in that color profile to push this, sunset, really kind of stark contrast look. But alas, I wasn't, I was in S-Cinetone. and the image is still fantastic. So what I was making sure to do was to go back and forth between different slow motion settings and different kind of frame rates. One of the things I've been trying to do recently, which I probably didn't do in the past, and again, I've seen some people talking about online in the last couple of months, is just to be really deliberate with my frame rate. I think in the past I had a tendency to kind of stick it in 50 frames and, you know, film everything that way, slow stuff down if I wanted to, let the computer kind of take out frames if I just wanted it in 25 frames. But to be honest, there is a distinctive difference in the look, and it does obviously introduce a lot of extra jitter and shake if you're in a higher frame rate and you're not going to slow it down. So yeah, I've been trying to make sure to actually shoot in the frame rate that I'm going to use. You know, 99% of the time, I know if I'm going to use it in slow motion or not for a certain shot. So with the memory banks on the FX3 as well, I've been able to just switch back and forth really easily. So yeah, for the portrait shoot, I actually ran it pretty much like a portrait shoot. Believe it or not, my girlfriend is not a seasoned model, so she wasn't instantly amazingly comfortable, you know, doing the poses and stuff. So we did have to kind of organize it like a photo shoot. But the thing I really enjoy about the video portrait is you're always going to run it that way, really. You're not really setting up shots in the same way you would if you were telling a narrative or doing something like that. You are kind of setting up shots just to make them look amazing, and then just kind of putting a bit of movement in it because it's a video. So it is actually very similar to going out and doing a photo shoot. One of the things I'm hoping to do going forward is to shoot some of these with other people as well, and kind of see if the same process works. Obviously with my girlfriend, I'm super confident and comfortable. I wouldn't necessarily be that way with someone I didn't know, as I'm not a portrait photographer. That's not really something I'm used to doing. So just to quickly talk about the results, I was very impressed with the shoot overall. I think even in SONY tone, the camera holds the dynamic range very, very well. I was able to get the sky exposed in most of these shots, even in this kind of harsh sunlight. And we got some amazing looking stuff that I was really, really happy with. We actually timed it really, really well, as we noticed when we drove past the other day, only about a week or so later, but the rapeseed had been cut. So we actually got in on probably one of the last couple of days we could have done this shoot in this season, or even actually maybe this year. So if there's any top tips to take from this video, if you want to shoot video or photos with a certain crop, obviously make sure they don't get chopped down before you get to it. But yeah, quickly talk about the edit. To be honest, this was a really simple one because, you know, I didn't have that many shots. We'd only been out for about an hour or so. Again, one of the perks of the video portrait is that, at least from my perspective, I didn't need to be any kind of real through line. It is just a sequence of really nice looking shots. Another thing these are going to be great for is getting some extra shots, some real kind of cinematography, thought out shots for my show reel. As I have realized over the last couple of months that as well as my show reel shows off all of my work, it doesn't have all of the best cinematography in there, because a lot of the work I do is kind of run and gun theater stuff where I'm not really having that time to compose a shot or make sure it is, you know, the best it absolutely could be. So that'll be an added bonus. If I do a few more of these, I'm able to get, you know, some really nice shots to go in my show reel as well. But yeah, relatively simple edit. I was able to grade quite simply. Again, once I'd realized I was in SONY tone, there wasn't a ton to do to the shots. There was actually some extra saturation that I still wanted to add to some of the shots. I know Sony are talking about SONY tone as a kind of straight out the box profile, but I still felt they felt quite flat when I had this really bright kind of, you know, yellow of the rapeseed in the shot. They weren't really popping in the same way, so I did add some saturation or vibrance, whichever one it was. But yeah, there wasn't a ton to do to the shots, which, you know, is great for the using this profile. I was able to slow down the shots that I wanted to use in slow motion, which I think was most of them. The only other thing that was interesting about this was that I did get a chance to try out the Sony Catalyst Browse software, which is being sort of advertised as a way of stabilizing your footage, you know, kind of to the point where it looks like a gimbal, even if you didn't use one. And the results were mixed, as you'd probably expect. You have to shoot with all stabilization off for it to really work, from what I can tell. The camera records gyro data to do this, so it is actually using, you know, the in-camera data like your phone would when it's doing it. But I couldn't find any way of getting Catalyst Browse to show me like a lower resolution version of the video. So actually the software was really struggling on my computer, which made the whole experience a bit rubbish, as I wasn't really able to watch back the clip and actually check that the stabilization was working properly. There are one or two shots in there that I've done it on, which did come out quite well, but I'm gonna have to kind of play around with that software more before I kind of use it in any sort of real workflow. The basic steady shot in the camera and the active stabilization mode are actually really good. I've used them quite a few times now on different shoots as well. Honestly, if your setup isn't too heavy and you've got a decent grip on the handle or whatever, the active stabilization kind of works really, really well. It makes it have that kind of shoulder rig feel again, which is what you always want. I think clearly positionally, you don't always want a shoulder rig up here for the height, and it's not the most easy to use to get certain shots, but I think the actual look of a shoulder rig and the movement of it, where you're getting that handheld style but it's not shaking at all, I think that's actually kind of exactly what I'm going for these days. So yeah, there's a lot of options on this camera with stabilization, but I was able to test out a few, which was great. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the video portrait. They were really, really fun to do. It's something that I'm going to look to do more of in the future. So, you know, they might see a few more posts on this channel. Again, I'm not taking any real kind of credit for, you know, this inspiration. It definitely came from MABO, whatever it is. So check out his work as well. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying the Sony FX3 content. I'm trying to kind of do a bit more of it, but as ever, client work is coming thick and fast, so I'm having to keep up with that as well. If you've got any recommendations of things you'd like me to talk about with this camera or just filmmaking in general, leave them in the comments below or drop me a message. And I look forward to seeing you again at some point in the next few weeks. See you then.